Welcome to the Here's the Deal channel. Thanks for being here. I want to jump right into it. There was a founding father that said something like, "It is not the majority who will prevail, but the irate and tireless minority who are keen on setting brush fires of freedom in the minds of men." What if that said setting brush fires of regulation in the minds of men, or setting brush fires of tyranny or bondage in the minds of men? It just wouldn't fit. Setting brush fires of infringement in the minds of men. And yet there are a lot of people these days who want us to be infringed upon. They want us to be regulated. They want us to be registered. They want us to bow down. We call them bootlickers. Now, I'm not so sure that in the spirit of trying to win people over, that's the route I want to go. I see what you're saying. And in actuality, it is. If you want to throw out the bitter pill of truth, that is what people who want you to be regulated, who want you to be infringed upon, that's what they are. They want to bow down and lick the hands which feed them. And who was it? Samuel Adams, who said, if you desire wealth greater than liberty, the tranquility of servitude rather than the animating contest of freedom. Because think about it. Servitude and slavery is tranquil. It's convenient. It's comfortable. But if you desire the tranquility of servitude rather than the animating contest of freedom, Samuel Adams said, "Go from us in peace. I ask not your counsel or your arms. I don't want you to speak into my life, and I don't want you to protect me. Just go away. Crouch down and lick the hands which feed you. May your chains set lightly upon you." He's wishing him goodwill. Okay, the chains that you have, I hope they're light. I hope it's bearable for you. I hope everything works out for you, but just get away from me. Get out of my face. Crouch down and lick the hands which feed you, and may posterity forget that you are a countryman. I would say, I'm not saying this in any kind of spirit of pride, but this is probably one of the most important videos that you are going to watch this week, if not this month, or maybe even for the entire year, because freedom matters. If you don't have freedom, you don't have anything. If you have the perception that you're free, but you're really in bondage, then you're more in bondage than people who actually know they're enslaved, because then they can mentally prepare and do something about it. But if we sit here and we try to convince ourselves that we are free when indeed we are not, and we can look all around us, guys, we live in a world where we are slaves. No matter how free you think you are, there's some force more powerful than you. And because we are not united in truth, because we're not united in virtue, because people have decided to take an unprincipled route so that they can fit in or go in to get along or become a part of the majority because that's more comfortable and that's more acceptable for you, because of that, we can't be free. To give you a plantation picture from the 1800s, all the slaves far outnumbered their white masters. All they had to do, and the thing that kept them from uniting, all they had to do was unite. They had them outnumbered, I don't know, 20, 50, 100 to 1, 1,000 to 1, I don't know. There was more of them than there were of the people who were enslaving them. Let's put it that way. And if you think about 334 million people, let's take 160 million of those out because they're little kids, but let's take about 200 million people. If we got together and said, you know what? We will no longer be ruled and ripped off and robbed by politicians. And law enforcement, you are not going to do to us what you did to Karen Garner. You're not going to blow us away like you did to Daniel Shaver. You're not going to treat us like a slave like you did to Philando Castile and blew him away, or James Boyd. You're not going to, after he protected you, wipe off the face of the map Johnny Hurley from Arvada, Colorado. Ain't going to happen anymore. But it's going to take unity, and it's going to take a message like this to set brush fires of freedom in the minds of men. And we've got to call out the people who are resisting us, because they're calling for the chains of not only their own enslavement. I promise I will get to every single super chat. So if you give me a super chat, it's very much appreciated. But I just want to stay on this because I want to go over a video that you've got to see, because it highlights and brings out so many truths as it propagandizes and promotes lies. See, because in this age, lies will always be, for some reason, I don't know why the universe is geared it this way. I think it's going to change. I'm hopeful that it will. But in this present age, lies will always be more popular than truth, and truth will always be stranger than fiction, and truth will always be treason in the empire of lies. You're a treasonous traitor if you think that you don't need a permission slip to own a firearm. You're a treasonous traitor if you don't ask for a permission slip to go hunting or fishing, or ask for a permission slip to go take your vehicle down the road. I mean, where will it stop? Where will it stop? One day, are people who are actually licking boots and supporting and promoting the chains of their own oppression, will they one day say, no, you've got to have a permission slip before you can walk out of your house. And how dare you think you shouldn't have your credentials on you? And every time the Gestapo stops you and asks you for your papers, you better dang well give it to them, or we approve state-funded force and violence and coercion to come down upon your head. Why not go there? They're already saying, hey, you got to have a permission slip from a government called a license to drive down the road. So that's where we're at right now. That's what we're talking about. And I want to get to this video. The name of this video is, and this comes from I've covered this guy before, and I am not, this is Van Balian. This is the Van Balian channel. And a lot of people go, dude, stop giving this guy airtime, man. He gets tons of views anyway. I don't mind giving people airtime because I like to be challenged in my thought. Whatever ideology I have, I want to know if it holds up to moral scrutiny. I want to know if it holds up to the principles of right and wrong. And if it doesn't hold up, then I need to abandon that ideology, that way of thinking, and I need to go toward that which is moral. I need to take the higher moral ground. If Van Balian has that high moral ground, I want to know what it is, and I want to join him there. But that which is popular is not always, and actually is rarely, moral. Just because everybody is approving of this, or almost everybody is approving of the fact that you need a permission slip from a government, doesn't make it right. The majority is typically wrong. If you look at the annals of history, it's the majority who begs for psychopaths to rule them. The Hitlers, the Mussolinis, the Mao Zedongs, the Joseph Stalins of the world. And like I've said before on this channel, it's not the few psychopathic megalomaniacs who want to rule us who are the burr under our saddles. It's the millions, it's the hundreds of millions of people who want those psychopaths to rule us. Those are the people that are the problem. And so those are the people that I'm trying to get a hold of and through to. That's why I don't view Van Balian as my enemy, although he would view me as his. Because he wants state-sponsored violence to come down upon you and me if we decide, you know what, I just want to be left alone. I don't want to be a part of this registration fee scenario. And at the same time, you've got to understand that if you decide to walk free in the land of slavery, you are going to face some serious hardships as long as the majority is asking for you to be chained back up to the slave post. So the name of this video right here is Sovereign Citizen Gets What He Deserves When He Tries to Outsmart a No-Nonsense South Carolina Trooper, which is a very interesting title because the true sovereign citizen, the ones who are acting sovereign are, for example, this guy right here putting his hand on the crotch of another man. That's the sovereign. Only a sovereign could get away with that. And this donut gorger right here, he's the sovereign citizen. The guy who just wanted to be left alone to go to Dollar General to get a couple items so that he could, go home and be with his family. He's the one that is not sovereign, but Van Balian, curiously and ironically, calls the wrong guy a sovereign. But, beside the fact there's no such thing as you can't be a sovereign and a subject. A citizen is a subject to the jurisdiction thereof. Look it up in the 14th Amendment. Basically, the 14th Amendment was written to ensure you that, hey, you're going to be okay as long as you make yourself a United States slave, which is a citizen subject to the jurisdiction thereof. So you can't be a sovereign and a subject at the same time. You can either be a subject or a sovereign, but never both. So I think it's funny that they conflate these terms and mix them in oxymoronic fashion. So let's go ahead and go over this. I hope that you'll find this, I don't know, entertaining. I hesitate to say entertaining because I'm not entertained by a whole gazillion people wanting my enslavement, desiring my enslavement and calling for it and mocking people who just want to be left alone. So let's check this out. Thanks for being here.
Put your hands in your pockets one more time. I'm gonna put darts in you. I'm gonna tase you. Get out of the car and put your hands behind your back.
I've already went to court and won on the court about all this and understand why the word is not being given to you guys.
10-4.
Because you guys have been lied to as well.
I'm not playing around with your safety or mine. Hands behind your back.
All right, so this is Van Ballian's.
Today we head back to South Carolina for another right to travel fail, courtesy of this sovereign citizen, who we last saw in this video trying and failing to outsmart a South Carolina state trooper. So let's fast forward a couple of years to 2023, where he attempts the script again after getting pulled over for his window tint and a fake tag. And let's just say it goes about as well as it did in the last video. Right, let's get into the video.
Now watch why this cop pulls this guy over. What could he have done?
How's it going? Yes, sir. I'm stopping you for your window tint.
Window tint?
Yes, sir.
You think that was any more an issue in South Carolina?
Sir?
I have to laugh anytime somebody comes up with something that ridiculous. Oh, wow. Hold on. You get your emergency lights on. You used your state-funded paycheck and your time and your energy to interrupt my day because of the shade of tint on my windows. It's literally laughable. So a man with a gun, Van Ballian does not have a problem with a man with a gun approaching another man who's minding his own business, not harming anybody, not threatening to harm anybody, not damaging property, not stealing property. I got an issue with your window tint because I'm an order follower and the state says you got to be the lowest of low human beings to, with the implied threat of force, walk up to a guy because some words were written on some fancy page that came out of the halls of, whatever Congress this state is in, South Carolina, and then enforce those laws through violence with the implied threat of force and violence.
I didn't think that was an issue in South Carolina.
Yes, sir.
Oh, well, it was on there when I got it. So.
I got you. You got your license, registration, insurance?
Well, that's the thing about that. I don't have none of that either.
Why not?
And I've already went to court and won on the court about all this. I don't understand why the word is not being given to you guys.
As we'll soon find out, this so-called court win he's talking about is, by his own admission, a dismissed case. So maybe that's why no one got this all-important memo.
Van Ballian is gonna make fun of that dismissed case here in a second.
Actually, you guys, is that on?
Yes, sir.
Okay, actually, Trooper Corum, you familiar with Mr. Corum?
Yes, sir.
He dropped 6 charges for, I guess, the lack of jurisdiction, for better. All right, use words for it.
Yeah, you keep telling yourself that story. It's clearly worked out so well for you in the past.
And now, so what he's appealing to is the negative consequences that happen to a free man who just wants to live free. And Van Ballian is mocking that. And this is one of the most important cornerstone issues in videos like this, is that Van Ballian and other channels approve of the initiation of violence on peaceful people who've literally harmed no one. And because they keep losing these court cases, and because they keep getting harassed and their day interrupted, and keep getting the cuffs placed on them, and they keep getting kidnapped, and they keep getting fined and economically terrorized, Van Ballian's treating the victim as though the victim has done anything wrong. And actually, it's people like this, whether you agree with them or disagree with them, he's just resisting the coercion and violence of the state. That's all it is. Hey, I just want to be at peace. I'm not asking for trouble. I'm opting out of your registration fee scheme. That's all he's doing. And Van Ballian is here to quickly appeal to, well, how's that working out for you? That's not doing too good for you. You could have said the same thing about the colonists, because a lot of them were dropping dead when the redcoats were shooting at them. But you know what? They said, I don't care if it costs our lives, our fortunes, our damn sacred honor. We are not going to live as slaves. I'd rather die as a free man than live on my feet as a slave. Ain't going to happen. This is where the buck stops. And then what did they pen? The Declaration of Independence. When was the last time? I know Van Ballian is not from this land right here, and you don't even have to be from this land. It's the spirit of the Declaration of Independence that, for the most part, applies to all men. Don't you have the right to pursue life, liberty, and happiness, and acquire property through honest means? Don't you have that right? Yes, you do have that right. But more importantly, nobody's got a right to deprive you of that. Now, I know I interchange that. It's not even so much that you have rights, but that's what people understand, that it's on the positive side that you have rights, but it's more on the negative side, is nobody's got a right to deprive you of property. Nobody's got a right to deprive you of liberty. Nobody's got a right to deprive you of happiness. Let's say my idea of happiness was sucking in the white powder. What is it to you? What good is it going to do for society to sustain me in a 6x6 jail cell because I like the white powdery substance in my nose? What does it matter? What if I want to sell it to somebody who wants to voluntarily buy it from me? I'm not forcing them. I'm not coercing them. What business is it of yours to say I'm from the government, and because you're doing that, I reserve for myself the right to put torture cuffs on you and kidnap you and throw you into a RAPE cage? How demented is that? And if this sounds new to you, if this sounds kind of strange, well, maybe look at life from a different perspective now. Either you are a sovereign being who, as long as you're not harming, threatening to harm, stealing property, or damaging somebody else's property, or making threats and depriving other people of their life, liberty, and property and happiness, you can do whatever you want to do. No, that doesn't include polluting rivers. No, that doesn't include throwing your trash all over the place, because now you're infringing on the liberty and the pursuit of happiness of others. You don't even have to respect people. Just don't interrupt them in their pursuit of life, liberty, and happiness, and don't damage their property. It's a very, very simple concept. And we learned all this stuff probably in kindergarten.
I got you. So,
And not to mention the one I won in the county up here in the courthouse.
that's fine. So what's your name?
Can't really give you any information.
All right.
You're going to use it against
25. Hey, come here.
Look how scared the trooper got. Hey, come here. Wait a second. You're the one who interrupted this guy's day, and you're going to be scared when he goes into his car? Maybe you should think twice before you approach another man. This is a man approaching another man. This isn't kids on a playground. If kids did this on a playground and you were the parent sitting on the park bench, just kind of watching over the kids, make sure everybody's safe. If you saw a kid on the playground bullying another kid, telling and getting out, taking out zip ties from his pocket and zip tying people's hands behind their back for your tennis shoes those aren't the right tennis shoes for this playground. And then he's instituting his own arbitrary laws, or maybe his parents wrote something down for him and said, hey, if you see any kids with double-laced shoes, just go ahead and zip tie them. Ask them for their ID. If they don't identify, go ahead and zip tie them and put their shoes in impound and then take them away, and we'll put them in our basement. If another parent saw kids acting like cops treat us, because that's kid to kid, right? This is man to man. You would think, whoa, there is something big time wrong with that bully kid right there. There's something wrong with him, and there's something wrong with his household, and he's initiating unjust force and violence on that kid over there. If you just look at people are like, Brian, you're such a simpleton. If you look at things in the most objective, unbiased form you can, and don't fool yourself. And if you have something that you call principle that you go by, and you have a moral compass, and your moral compass is sound, it's set, and it can't be moved, then anything that veers just a degree off course of that compass is to be rejected. And that's why Samuel Adams said, no people will tamely surrender their liberties, nor can any be easily subdued when knowledge is diffused and virtue is preserved. On the contrary, when there's universal ignorance and there's debauchery in manners, they will sink under their own weight without the aid of foreign invaders. In other words, you're going to sink yourself if you walk away from principle, if you walk away from virtue, if you start harming people who haven't harmed others. You're done. You don't need a foreign invader advancing onto your land, holding you at gunpoint. You've already taken yourself down. No people will tamely surrender their liberties, nor can any be easily subdued when knowledge is diffused and virtue is preserved. So that's what happened. We've stepped away from knowledge. We've stepped away from virtue like Van Balian. The only reason he can feel good about making money on these videos right here where he's slamming a person who's just trying to be left alone while he applauds the abusers, he mocks the victim and cheers for the abusers. The only reason he can do that is because virtue has left him. Hopefully just for the time being. Hopefully he'll get his virtue back. But the only way you can applaud a trooper doing this to a guy because of window tint is because you don't walk according to principle and you approve of the initiation of unjust force and violence on peaceful people who haven't done anything wrong, and you think another man has a higher claim over your life and property than you to the point where they can put their hands on you, torture cuff you, kidnap you, and then stick you into a rape cage where they're going to have you bend over and do a body cavity search. And Van Balian is for that 100% for you, for your family, for the people that you love. So Van Balian has actually set himself up as your enemy. You're his friend because you don't want that done to him, but he's your enemy because he wants that done to you. Van Balian, I plead with you, man. I'm not your enemy. And the only reason I really hope that I don't cross the line, you know, everybody's human and they make mistakes. I'm not sitting here trying to mock Van Balian, but I want to look at the seriousness of the mentality that a Van Balian or anybody else who thinks along these lines is doing to the human race. You're literally saying, no, it's okay to walk away from morals in this case because you got to have a registration. It's okay to walk away from principles and morals and all that is right because, for God's sake, the parliament or the legislator made a window tint law, and you got to abide by that. You got to initiate force and violence because of that.
I understand that.
So let me ask you,
D25. I need E1025.
are you going to be using any of this information or documentation against me in the court of law?
Dude, again, this script didn't work for you the last time and the time before that. So I'm curious, what makes you think it's going to work this time?
But it's not about it working. It's about, you know, when you plant seeds, you see, this is an appeal to pragmatism. Is it going to work or is it not going to work? Do you really live? I mean, there are certain things that it's okay. Certain things that don't have to do with morality. Let's see. Will it work if I fill up my water and prepare my food for my lunch tomorrow before I go to bed? You know, do take care of it. That's not what we're talking about. Along the issues of morality, you can't walk according to pragmatism. Let's see. If I rob that store and I have 100% chance of not getting caught, so pragmatically, it'll work if I rob that store and I can get away scot-free. I could empty out the register. I could take a couple snacks, you know, while I'm leaving. That's pragmatism. But righteousness says I have no desire to rob that store because those aren't my products in that store. That's not my money. And it would not be right for me to infringe on another man's life and take what he has earned. It's not right. And you don't have to have a written rule or ordinance or a holy book or a religion or a politician telling you it's right or wrong. You know if it's right or wrong because all you got to do is ask yourself, if I owned that store, would I want somebody else marching into my store, taking my snacks and emptying my register against my will? No, I wouldn't, unless I'm just a liar or, you know, mentally unstable. It's self-evident. What is right and wrong is self-evident. That's why it blows my mind that people like Van Balian are willing to stand and cheer for the abuser and mock the victim who's being abused.
D25 or Dollar General, US 29. All right. Look, don't make it harder than it needs to be.
I'm not trying to do that, sir.
The abuser who's making it harder than it needs to be because he didn't have to interrupt this guy's day. Didn't have to. Matter of fact, he could have had written on a piece of paper, you need to pull everybody over who has a dark window tint or else. You know what the righteous man does? Well, I guess I'll take the or else because I ain't interfering with somebody else's day who hadn't harmed anybody else. But the order follower thinks the exact opposite. Oh, I'm going to do exactly what I'm told. Really? Do you know how insane it was for the Gestapo, the Nazi police, to say at the Nuremberg trials, hey, I was just doing my job. I didn't make the laws. I just enforced them. I'm absolved because I was just following orders. Really? So if the order said, put a gun to that man's head who has done nothing wrong on that subway and pull the trigger because the politician said so, you would do it? Hey, I just did it because that's how I feed my family. So then you have to let go of principle. You have to let go of morals. To be an order follower, you have to be the most garbage human being on the face of the earth. To just do what you're told, regardless of what is right, instead of just doing what is right, regardless of what you're told. This shows you that any trooper, any police officer, any sheriff's deputy, any sheriff, any police chief who does what he's told, regardless of what is right, is willing to do evil because he was told to do evil. And let me tell you, most laws are evil, and Van Balen is for most laws. But you know what's crazy about this whole thing? If the tides actually turned, if there were a whole bunch of people who's like, you know what? I'm not paying my registration. You know what? We're not paying those taxes. You know what? We're not doing this. And more people did it. And then it's like, now it becomes to a point where, like in Prohibition, it became unenforceable. And then they're like, we're just going to go ahead and amend that amendment right there. And okay, alcohol. It's okay to have alcohol now. Yay. Happy days are here again. Once it becomes unenforceable, even the Van Balens of the world will not pay registration. They can now, if there was a voluntary registration, go ahead and pay it. But I bet you, if he was honest with himself, Van Balen would not pay registration if he could opt out of it without any kind of harm coming to it. See, Van Balen and people like him are operating on the plane of fear. But if I do this, the government's going to come and get me. And that's how they keep you in line. That's how they keep you controlled. Fear is a great motivator for you to do what the government told you to do. And then if everybody else is scared of not obeying the government, then everybody else will condemn you if you don't obey the government. You ever notice that when somebody doesn't pay their taxes, they're like, he's a tax evader. Oh my God, he's worse. He's a tax evader. And then they start mocking the victim instead of going, you know what? If he's not paying it, if Jeff Bezos isn't paying it, if Elon Musk is not paying it, I'm not going to pay it either. Instead, they go, the Bernie Sanders, hey, they got to pay their fair share. Why don't they just go, what do you mean pay their fair share? If they're not paying it, I'm not paying it either. And even if they decide to pay it, I'm still not going to pay it. And you're not going to make me pay it because all of us say we're not paying it. That's how the revolution started. The colonists are like, put a 3% tax on our tea. I'll be damned if you do. Come and get me. That was their mentality. But it's always going to be dangerous to be right and walk in righteousness when the government is so wrong. Because the government is always wrong. That's what the government is. The government is corruption. The government is slavery. See, back in the 1800s, Van Balen would be telling on you and mocking you for freeing the slaves because freeing the slaves used to be illegal. And if it's illegal, Van Balen's not going to do it. And if he sees you doing something illegal, like this right here, Van Balen's going to tell on you. And if there were videos back then, Van Balen would be making a video talking about, well, that didn't work out. Freeing those slaves in the slave underground with Harriet Tubman didn't work out for you, did it? That's exactly. His actions prove that's what he would do in the 1800s. He would tell on you. He would make a video. He would call you out for being stupid. You stupid sovereign citizens trying to free the slaves off the plantation. Everybody knows it's against the law to free the slaves. Everybody knows it's against the law to have window tinting. Everybody knows it's against the law and the government's going to get you if you don't pay your registration fee. It's such a cluster F of BS. And every single one of us should absorb the spirit, that spirit of the founding fathers. You think the founding fathers would tolerate for 1 second some kind of transportation road tax, which is what a license is? What can you imagine the British government knocking on Samuel Adams' door or Benjamin Franklin's door and say, hey, you can't take your horse-drawn carriage out in the public roadways until you pay the king the registration fee. There's now a new registration fee. Put a comment in, put a 1 in the room if you think the founding fathers would bow down to the British Crown's demand for a horse-drawn carriage registration fee. Put a 2 if you think they would. I don't know. Put an FU in the cage if you in the chat if you think they'd say FU. FU. It would a pittance of attacks that the British government was trying to lay against the colonists, and they had a frickin' revolution. They were far outnumbered. The military superiority of the British government had never been rivaled up to that point in time. And here's these little piddly colonists going, well, I guess we're going to die. I guess it's curtains for us. And only a third of the colonists signed on to that. And it's the 2/3 that are the Van Balians that would have sold out Benjamin Franklin. Hey, King, I just wanted to let you know, Benjamin Franklin I just saw his horse-drawn carriage in town. No registration tag. And he had tinted horse hooves. Yep. You said no tinted horse hooves. He has that, and he doesn't have registration. Why don't you bring the redcoats over there so they can ID him? And then we can mock him for being a sovereign citizen. It's so over the top, mockably ridiculous.
I really am not.
You don't have a license?
No, sir.
All right.
Sure do.
Santana Black.
I got the different paperwork right here.
That's fine. No weapons in the car?
No weapons in the car. You're not exercising your... Don't you let us catch you exercising your Second Amendment right. Because while we say it's the supreme law of the land, we don't really mean it. Because we walk and live as hypocrites. Tell me there's a good cop. Tell me there's a good cop. Prove to me there's a good cop. Where are all the good cops?
Here's the
You got insurance on the vehicle?
there's the ticket.
Gosh.
What part of the trooper saying that's fine, meaning he isn't interested in looking at your tickets, did you not understand?
From 21. From the county.
10-4. Solid.
From the county, sir. And here's the where I went to court and proved all that I didn't need the insurance or the license or anything. I proved that in court, and there's the dismissal of the fee.
The only thing you're proving is how willfully ignorant you are. A dismissed case, if that is what happened, isn't a win and changes nothing about the law. Therefore, you still need a valid license, registration, and proof of insurance if you want to operate it on a public road.
You know, technically he's wrong. A dismissed case is sort of a win. It is a win because you got the prosecuting attorney, you've got the state saying, hey, you're guilty and here are your charges. And then all those charges got dismissed. No more charges. So it is a win. It's like there's only one winner and one loser in a case. You got the defendant and you got the plaintiff. So the plaintiff is the state and the defendant is you. And if the charges were dismissed, you won. What did you win? You got out from under the charges with the dismissal. Now, it could be dismissed without prejudice, which would allow them to relitigate and reapply those charges, or it could be dismissed with prejudice, which means, hey, we're not litigating this anymore. But a dismissal is technically a win. It may not be a win like, definitively proving innocence or whatever, but even that is beside the point. And you know why? Because morality wins the day. Justice wins the day. And it is neither just nor moral to infringe on a man's right to pursue life, liberty, and happiness when you're pulling him over for frickin' window tints when he's done nothing wrong and harmed no one and has a dismissal. How do these troopers go home at night? The only way I can figure is because they're in cognitive dissonance, and they're so deeply rooted and cemented in cognitive dissonance that that's the only way they can get on in life, because they have to deal with their hypocrisy some way. See, cognitive dissonance is trying to hold two mutually exclusive and diametrically opposed thoughts in your mind at one time, and they conflict. They're fighting with one another. That's the cognitive aspect of it. That's the dissonant aspect of it. It's dissonance is disharmony. There's disharmony within a singular individual's own mind regarding right and wrong. They know it's wrong to put your hands on another man who isn't harming somebody else. They know it, but they also know that they've got a job to do. And the state said that if you find somebody with window tinting, then you're going to issue them a citation and economically terrorize them. If they're driving down the road without a government issued permission slip, then you have to steal their car, which is called impounding their car. But it's really roadside theft. It's grand theft auto is what it is. And the only way they can soothe their consciences is to give in to the dissonance, to the harmony. They're mental harmony, mental disharmony. And they have to make it harmonious by lying to themselves. It's not truly harmonious. That's why we do these videos right here. Because people like Van Balion are not only in cognitive dissonance, they're also deeply rooted in something called Stockholm syndrome, where they're looking at their oppressors with great affinity, and they're attracted somehow to their oppressors and to their oppression, so they give into it. And then they mock everybody else who's not giving into the oppression. It's a crazy psychological operation and psychological battle we're going through. That's why we do these videos.
You can see.
No, hold it.
Well, it's got information on there that he's going to use against me.
All right. So this is where we're at. I'm asking for your information due to you driving on a state highway.
It's a public highway, right?
The state is actually United States highway. US 29.
Public highway.
So,
Do you see that? The cop doesn't even understand the difference between state and public. State is public. United States highway, that doesn't make it any less public. It's a public highway.
are you failing to identify yourself?
You suspect me of a crime,
I do.
and that would be
110.
when intent.
Yes,
Is
sir.
there an injured party involved?
Doesn't
here?
matter. State law.
It does matter, sir. It has to be.
Is there an injured party? Doesn't matter. State law doesn't matter. I'm an order follower. Hey, I don't write the laws. I just enforce them. All the wicked, evil, cruel, downright disgusting laws, I'm enforcing those because I'm an evil person and I don't have a principle anymore. And I crushed my moral compass long ago and threw it into the trash bin.
Injured party.
And it's in there with all the other broken compasses from all the other people who decided to become state-funded road tyrants.
There could be a crime.
All right.
I mean, all the justices, the Supreme Court, and everything's already upheld all these decisions. So,
That's fine.
and I'm just trying to get the point across to you guys, because you guys have been lied to as well.
Would you look at that? The same guy who lied to a state trooper during a previous traffic stop is trying to lecture and has the nerve to accuse other people of lying. What a surprise.
Now, I don't know what he's talking about there. Maybe this guy did lie to a trooper, but what is a trooper? A trooper has approached your vehicle based on a lie. A trooper is driving a vehicle that was funded by a lie. And that lie is, hey, you have special rights that none of the rest of these human beings do. Yeah, you're a mere human being, but now we've given you a costume and we've given you something called authority of the state. So the trooper walks daily in and verbalizes and articulates lies every single day of the week. Every second he's on the clock.
All right.
Even here is the South Carolina Supreme Court case that the state can only impose a fee for compensation of the highways on motor vehicles exclusively in interstate commerce.
Yes, sir.
I'm not acting in interstate commerce or any kind of commerce for that matter. And here, South Carolina versus U.S. The Constitution is a written instrument. As such, its meaning does not alter that which it meant when it was adopted. It means now, further, the right to travel by private conveyance, which is this, for private purposes, which is what I'm doing, upon the common way, cannot be infringed. Are you even?
I'm listening to you.
I mean, but you don't seem like you're listening to
I'm
me.
listening to you.
He's not listening. And really, these Supreme Court cases, whether on the state level or the federal level, really don't matter. They really don't matter. It all boils down to, let's stop redefining words. What is a crime? Can a crime really have been committed if there's no victim? Because otherwise it's just a made up crime. It's not even, you can't call it a crime, but let's just call it a non-crime. It's a victimless crime, and a victimless crime is no crime at all. Like a minute before the clock struck 12, before Prohibition went into effect, you weren't a criminal when you bought, sold, and transported and created alcohol, and you're still in the backyard. But all of a sudden, when the clock struck 12, now all of a sudden you're a criminal. What changed? Nothing. It's fiction. It's fairy tale. All it was everybody believing that now it's a crime because the politicians said so. And now the enforcers are going to enforce it. That's the danger of an order follower. They will put a gun to your baby's head and pull the trigger if the law tells them to. They will take dad, pull him out of a car, kidnap him. We're talking about the breadwinner. Let's say that he's the sole breadwinner of the house, and that family cannot survive without dad. They're going to put their hands on dad, put the torture cuffs on nice and tight, kidnap dad, take him in for fingerprinting, give him a record to where he can never get a job again, or it's going to be very difficult for him to get a job. And then he's going to throw him into a cage where there's potentially a bunch of other real criminals who could harm him. But before they do that, they're going to do something perverted and disgusting to him, telling him to pick up his balls and bend over so that they can look into his, you know what? It's a disgusting, perverted, prison industrial complex filling scheme. That's what it is. And what if we all woke up tomorrow and came to this knowledge and then acted on this knowledge en masse? What are they going to do? What's the ruling class going to do? Well, wow, that became highly unpopular. I guess we can't enforce that anymore. Gosh, they far outnumber us. And if you question how ridiculous this is, there's a video that was made, 12, 13 years ago by Larkin Rose. It's still on the internet. Last I looked, it's called The Tiny Dot. Look at the video called The Tiny Dot, and it encapsulates the insanity that we're dealing with in the realm of authoritarianism and you obey my laws or else. And how massive a group of people is being coerced and controlled and manipulated by just a few 535 in Congress. Do you realize there's only 720 to 900,000 law enforcers to police 334 million people? It's not even close. It's not let's just give it 1 million. Let's say it's 1 million people trying to corral 3 million people. That'd be like one person trying to control 330 people. You think that's going to happen? That's ridiculous. He could easily be overpowered by a small percentage of that whole group. But the reason it works is because they distract us, they deceive us, they divide us, and more importantly, they demoralize us. If you're decoupled from morality, demoralized, if they take the morality out of you and get you to believe things that are immoral as though they're righteous, they win. That's all it takes. Demoralization is all it takes. That's the only thing that makes this whole thing go. This is the musical chairs. When the music stops and everybody realizes, wow, there's not a chair for me to sit down in, that's when the gig is up. Or is it jig? Is it jigga? I don't know, whatever it is. That's when the game is over. When people wake up and they smell the coffee and they realize, wow, this entire system is based on abject evil. And the willingness of people to do evil so that they can get a paycheck and please their political banking masters.
Yeah, I wonder why he seems so disinterested in what you're saying. Could it be because he knows this is not the time or the place to make this dumb argument? Or maybe it's because this is not the first time he's come across someone stupid enough to fall for the right to travel script.
So he calls the person who's initiating force and violence the wise person. And he's calling the person who wants to resist the initiation of force and violence a stupid person. This is upside down world.
Or maybe he's just waiting for backup to arrive to take you to jail. Anyway, speaking of.
So so no license or permission is required for travel when such travel is not for the purpose.
In the state of South Carolina, you must have a driver's license.
But the state is already.
He's a robot. The state says you must have a driver's license. Our state legislator declared that this is what's going to happen. They slammed the gavel, and I just believe it, and I just enforce it. That's a dangerous, dangerous man right there.
This is the state's decision.
So South Carolina, you have to have a driver's license. You have to present it.
If I work for the state, can we get a county deputy out there? County?
Yes.
I got small paperwork too. I'm not going to harm you. I just don't want you harming me either.
I love that. This guy knows the score. Yeah, he says backup has arrived. Wait till you see backup.
This is for North Carolina. I can't find the one for South Carolina, but it says it would say South Carolina here instead of North Carolina on the other.
I got you. So you have your ID?
This is a parent company name.
Do you have
I don't work for. I don't have a company ID. That's it.
Do you have your driver's license?
I don't have a company.
Now you'll notice when the other officer or the other deputy arrives on the scene, how the initial officer who initiated the traffic stop becomes more and more emboldened. And then there's a third officer who comes up, and now they're a team. Now they're like the wild dogs of Africa. It's like, hey, we got something going on here. We can overpower this and bring it down.
Do you have insurance?
I don't have any company information
You have.
from the state of South Carolina.
All right.
Claiming a driver's license or state ID is a company ID because some idiot told you that South Carolina is a company like, say, Walmart. To get out of paying for vehicle registration and insurance might just be the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
To get out of being extorted. Do you know what this is? Do you know what registration is? It is a property transportation licensing fee. That vehicle, car, truck, whatever you want to call it, is your property. And nobody's got a right to keep you from transporting your property on the public roadways. Nobody's got a right to interfere with that. Now, if you're ramming into people and damaging property and threatening lives, that's a completely different story. But you don't even have a cop to pull somebody. You don't have to be a cop to pull somebody like that over. All you have to do is just have a moral compass and go, you know what? That's not right. That's jeopardizing people's lives. That's damaging people's property. We need to intervene here. So registration is a property transportation licensing fee or permission slip from the government. And Van Balion says you must bow down at the feet of government and get their permission before you, little child, are allowed to take your property on the public roadways.
And that's saying something because you've said some really dumb things already in this and the previous video.
I'm asking one more time for your driver's license.
I don't have a company ID, sir.
You can't have your pocket for me.
Get your hands out of your pocket.
You have. Are you suspended? Don't have a license? What's the problem?
I don't have a company ID, sir.
All right. Well, listen.
You know, Tobias, I don't think that's it. I don't think it's that Balion is done. I mean, you know, an argument can be made or whatever, but it's not about intellect. Okay. There's some very sophisticated intellectual people, very intelligent people who buy into the belief of authority that a man has a right, a claim, a legitimate claim over another man's life. Everybody knows that's not true. So it's more like, you know how many people are involved in, say, Roman Catholicism or Jehovah's Witnesses or Mormons or Baptists or Buddhists or Presbyterian or Satanists, or, you know, they're involved in that because they believe it. And all these other belief structures, like, for example, Islam is completely against Christianity. Christianity is completely against Jehovah's Witness. Jehovah's Witnesses are absolutely against Roman Catholicism. So it's not that they're stupid, it's that they've decided to let their guard down and believe what this guy said or what this holy book said or what this religious institution teaches. And that's what government is. Government is a religious institution. It's the biggest religious institution. Name somebody who doesn't believe in the legitimacy of government. Like, who was it? George Washington. I think it's attributed to George Washington. Government is not eloquence. It is not reason. It is force. It is violence. And like fire, it's a dangerous servant and a fearful master. Government doesn't even exist, because if it's not true that I have a higher claim over your life and property than you, to the point where I reserve for myself the right to pull you over because you have window tinting I don't like, or you didn't activate your turn signal 50 feet before you were supposed to, or your tag light was out, or your headlights are too dim, or I saw you going over the fog line. That's me saying I have a higher claim over your life to the point where I can interrupt your day for a piddly little reason. And guess what? Me and my guys are going to make up more corporate traffic codes so we can stick our foot and our entire body completely in your door, and there's nothing you can do about it. And the only reason it works is because a vast amount of people, let's call them parishioners, have subscribed to and have bought the ticket for and are drinking the Kool-Aid of the cult of government personality. They believe what the government said. Oh, there's a requirement. There's a window tinting requirement. Well, we better follow in line, and we better mock everybody who gets pulled over for window tinting. And dang right, it was right to kidnap that man and ruin his livelihood and split up his family and enrich the prison industrial complex for those window tints. You damn right it was. See, when you put it like that, it's like, what the frick are we doing? And it kind of makes you wake up from your day. It's like, God, that is what it is. And this is what Van Balian is calling for. And he's actually begging for other men to put shackles on his own wrists. And he's not even stopping there. He's asking these people in government agents to put shackles on the rest of our wrists. And then when we find a key to unlock the shackles, the Van Balians of the world are there to tell on us. They're the hall monitors that nobody ever liked. Look, he's chewing gum. He pulled Sally's hair. He's doing this. Oh my gosh, he's got a Rubik's Cube. He's not supposed to. He's selling gum in class. The police are the hall monitors who are telling on you when they see you exercising freedom. How sick is that? And then they put their hands on you and violate you. If you put your hands on somebody and violate somebody and you're not a cop, they call that rape. They call that assault. They call that battery. What if you went around tasing somebody because your gang wrote something in people with red shirts cannot ride the subway on Tuesdays. So if you ever see a guy riding a subway and it doesn't harm anybody, it's a stupid law, but hey, I'm a law enforcer and says here, if you have a red shirt and you're on a subway on a Tuesday in a red shirt, I have the right to pull out my taser and electrocute you in the subway or on the platform. I didn't write the law. I just enforce them. It's like, no, the politician didn't electrocute that guy in the red shirt on Tuesday on the subway. You did. You ruined that guy's life because when he fell, he hit the curb. He fell down in the pit and the subway ran over him. The subway train ran over. Oh my gosh. It's just unbelievably mind-blowing.
Go ahead, turn around. You're under arrest.
What? You mean the company ID thing downloaded from a dodgy right to travel website didn't work? I am shocked. It's almost as if everything you accuse other people of lying about is in itself a lie.
And now the other side of it is put those private plates on the back of your car and you're going to draw the roadside Gestapo like flies to poop.
Shit in the car.
But that doesn't mean it's wrong. And it doesn't mean them pulling you over is right. But what if the mental tide shifted and everybody's like, this is as ridiculous. Pulling somebody over for window tinting laws is as ridiculous as electrocuting with a taser a guy in a red shirt riding a subway on Tuesday.
Hold on.
It's in my pocket.
What's in your pocket?
There's a lot of stuff I don't want to go to the jail on.
All right, who would you like to tow your vehicle?
Turkeys.
Well, I mean, I want to address that autodidactic girl. Yep, you don't have to get a license. No, you don't have to from your perspective and from my perspective, but from their perspective and the perspective of everybody who buys into and is funneling the Kool-Aid and is bowing down to the man and is kissing the feet of those who put shackles around him. They believe you have to. So we live in two worlds, or we live in the same evil world, but there are people with two completely different perspectives and outlooks. You and I know that we do not need to ask permission to get into our private property and take it down the public roadways without paying some extortion fee. We know we don't have to do that. But if we don't do it, there's a whole bunch of people out here who will tell on us and who will enforce the laws, and they don't have any problem kidnapping you and stealing your vehicle if you're not playing according to their rules. So it's both. No, you don't have to, but from their perspective, you have to or else.
All right.
I'll get your key.
That's right here. Yeah, I'm not gonna hurt you, sir. I'm telling you.
If you put your hands in your pockets one more time, I'm gonna put darts in you. I'm gonna tase you. Get out of the car and put your hands behind your back.
Okay.
This guy who's not even the deputy who's not even going to be alive in 10 years because of the way he's treated the temple of his body is telling him, if you put your hands in your pockets one more time and get in your car, I'm going to put some darts in you. The threat of you. What if you threaten an officer? If you put your hands in your pocket one more time there and make me feel unsafe, I'm going to put some darts in you. If you did that, if you said to the officer, like this guy said to him, the officer said to him, you're going down, man.
I'm not playing around with your safety or your mind. Hands behind your back.
Maybe Mr. Sparky is just what this soft-sit needs. 50,000 volts might shock him out of his delusion.
There you go. There you go, Van Balian. Hey, listen to me, man. Listen to me. You just said you don't have a problem with 50,000 volts coursing through the body of a man who didn't obey a tinting law and didn't have his government permission slip. Van Balian, it should be violence, Balian. You're for violence. How about Van Brutality? You're for brutality, the initiation of brutality. This guy's like obviously not doing anything wrong. You know he's not doing anything wrong, Van Balian. But you actually called for him to be roadside electrocuted because he didn't follow the rules of the state. How perverted and demented and disgusting and evil is that?
Put on top.
12 minute rest for
What do we got doing for him?
Dispatch, brother.
That's not a county deputy. I need a sheriff's deputy out here.
We'll get it timed.
And no, I don't want to give, I don't want to do that to Van Balian, because then that would be us sinking to the statist level. The statist level is the most common, most base, most immoral level you can operate at. That's what separates that. That's how you get righteousness, by never thinking to their level. I would never, ever want Van Balian to have 50,000 volts coursing in his body because he didn't submit to a window tinting law or some kind of stupid corporate traffic ordinance. I would never, ever call for Van Balian to be kidnapped and to be tortured and to be hotboxed in the back of a patrol car and to have his car impounded and his livelihood and his life jeopardized. Never, ever. That's what separates the righteous from the unrighteous. It's absolutely unjust what Van Balian's calling for. And he's making a lot of money, guys. If you look at Van Balian's videos, they get way more. Look, 8 hours ago, I never have 62,000 views. I don't even have 6,200 views in 8 hours in the majority of my videos. But this is popular because that's the nightmare we're actually living. There's a lot of people who applaud this kind of thing. They're on board with Van Balian. I mean, look what they're saying right here. This is why the prosecutors shouldn't dismiss cases that involve soft sits. And this is what happens when cases get dismissed on these window lickers. What's worse, having a window licker? They call them lens lickers, or, as opposed to boot lickers. That's why I don't like using boot licker, because you're using ad hominems when you don't really have to. You can say that they're abjectly, obviously immoral. You can say they're actually calling for violence. You can say they're lovers of violence if you want 50,000 volts to go through somebody who hasn't harmed anybody. So I don't want to descend to this calling names thing, but I do want to call a spade a spade. When you call a spade or a diamond or a heart, a diamond and a heart, you're just calling it what it is. You're not reaching, and it has everything to do with the conversation, because they're actually calling for violence to come on you and people you love for no freaking reason other than it was written on a piece of paper and a law enforcer decided to enforce it and bring it into life. See, words on a paper. I would argue that police officers are worse than politicians, and politicians are the scum of the earth. But politicians only write the laws. They're not actually bringing it to life. Hey, tase this guy if he doesn't give you your ID. That's written, and that's bad. That's horrible. You're calling for the tasing. But the person who actually lifted it off the page, put it in their heart, and then put it into action in their life where they created a real victim, that is the evil doer right there. There's the person who calls for evil, and there's the person who actually lets the evil play out through them. So I would never, ever call for Van Balian to be extorted or tormented or caged because some politician somewhere wrote some law, and you just, hey, we would have societal decay if you didn't enforce window tinting laws. My gosh, can you imagine how we would all descend into chaos if you let that gram of cocaine under that 18-year-old seat go unpunished? We can't have that. You'd have tires burning in the street. You'd have windows knocked out. You'd have blood flowing in the street as high as the horses' bridles, for goodness sakes. It's really ridiculous when you think about it. They always say they already went to court about this and won. No, a dismissal of a charge isn't a win. Actually, it is. It's kind of a win. The reason this continues is because there's no consequences for this. For this what? No consequences for what? For psychopathic megalomaniac criminals who are writing things on pieces of paper saying, hey, you need to enforce this and make sure you economically terrorize people. And if they continue to resist, then you can take their lives over a traffic ticket. That's what it literally is. This is your life is over if you continue to resist that traffic ticket. Think about think about the most minor ticket. The most minor ticket will lead to your death. Either your imprisonment or your death. But if you continue to resist the ticket and you continue to not pay for it, and they put out warrants for you, and you continue to not pay not heed law enforcement when they're trying to enforce that warrant, that jaywalking ticket will end with you 6 feet under or cremated. That's how ridiculous this whole thing is. So the politicians and the law enforcers are saying, hey, a jaywalking ticket or a window tinting ticket resisted to the end is worth taking a human life. That's how sick these people are. This person says there is no court ruling that ever shows that the right to travel exists. It doesn't matter if there is or not. It's not right for you to hinder somebody's life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. As soon as I heard the cop's accent, I knew it would be good. People just applauding the violence. And Van Balian, look, he loves this, loves that, loves this one right here. Oh, he responded. What did he say? The reason this continues, let's see, what did Van, 100%. If this continues because there's no consequences for this case dismissed, charges dropped, and their minds mean I must be right. So again, Van Balian and people who follow him and people who subscribe to his ideology are basically saying right is wrong and wrong is right. Darkness is light and light is darkness. Bitter is sweet and sweet is bitter. It's just a crazy world.
I need the sheriff's deputy out here.
You got a highway patrol in town black. That's what you got.
All right, step over here.
Sheriff's deputy.
Highway patrol in the town. Did you say town blacksmith? What?
I need.
Anything on you? Son, anything on you? Anything that's
I'm
going
not
to
asking
stick
any questions, sir.
Oh my God, look at this car in the parking lot in the distance. Hey, I hope they stake out this parking lot because they got tinted windows too.
I can't answer any questions.
Man, take the whole town in. What if the whole town decided, you know what? Oh, there's a law against window tinting. Hey, yeah, local window tinting shop. Yeah, can I get my windows tinted? Yeah, next to you. Oh yeah, we got like 150 people calling in. What if everybody did it? That law would soon be taken off the books because there's so many people resisting so many laws. Maybe they need to straighten up and fly right.
All right, well, I'm going to read you your rights.
Uh-oh, here comes
You
the
understand
deputy.
these rights I have explained to you?
Now I know this guy arriving on the scene. He's going to go, what? Window tinting? What? A piece of metal on the back? Let this guy go. He hasn't harmed anybody. I'm here to secure and protect rights. And that means I'm here to secure and protect a human being's right to life, liberty, property, and the pursuit of happiness. I bet that's what this sheriff's deputy says.
Can I get your name, sir?
Absolutely. It's Deputy Parker. You know me.
Deputy Parker.
Mm-hmm.
You look sick?
I did.
Oh, wow. How you been?
Nah, we making
I
it.
heard you went to chest.
You understand these rights I have explained?
Anyway,
He's talking to you.
I'm not asking any questions for him.
How many rights man you just talked to?
Can I get you to uphold your constitutional duty and protect my rights here, man?
Love it.
We went through that,
I
man.
love that question. Can I get you to uphold my constitutional duties and rights? Which, by the way, I'm not a constitutionalist. A constitution is an authoritarian document, and it allows Congress to lay and collect taxes, for example. That's ridiculous. Oh, because you're a special person, like in Congress, you get to extort the rest of us at the barrel of a government gun. That's BS. It's immoral. That's letting go of principle. And whether the Constitution be one thing or another, this much is certain. It's either authorized such an insanely tyrannical government as we have, or it's been powerless to stop it. In either case, it's unfit to exist. It's the Constitution.
I'll beat you.
But I still bring up the Constitution because there are some good elements in the Bill of Rights, like the First Amendment, the Second Amendment, the Third Amendment too. But they're going to violate that pretty soon too, because chaos is about to happen in the economy. I don't know if you've been paying attention. Fourth Amendment, Fifth Amendment, those are good things. Even the Ninth Amendment is pretty good, constraining the powers of the federal government.
You did?
So I will hold them to certain elements of the Bill of Rights.
Again, not you, but Klein Millen. I mean, in the master court.
He didn't beat me in court, though.
But it's the same charges, man, and it's proven right there that y'all don't need to be doing this, and it's your duty as a sheriff's deputy to protect my rights.
I guess.
And the Supreme Court's already confirmed I have the right to be in this road.
The fact that you practically live in handcuffs at this point says different. Maybe you should try taking an entry-level civics class instead of downloading misinterpreted and cherry-picked Supreme Court cases.
You see that? The fact that you're in handcuffs means you're wrong. You know what? That's basically what Van Balen just said. You know what he's saying? He's saying the fact that you are shackled to that post on that plantation just proves that all you slaves are wrong. That would be Van Balen. Van Balen, how can you not be ashamed of yourself when you would literally turn Harriet Tubman in, or Lysander Spooner, or any of the abolitionists? You would turn them in because obviously the federal government said this and they're working in opposition to the federal government.
How you want to take off?
You got it. I'm just asking you to help me out, man.
I can't help you out, fella.
Can.
You can't.
This is your county, is it not?
Yes. He works for the state, fella.
But you work for the county. He's in your county. You are the ultimate authority in the state.
He's over the state.
No, this guy's right. The deputy under the sheriff is supposed to be the ultimate authority in that town. And the ultimate authority took an oath to protect and defend the Constitution, equaling in their minds, protecting and defending the rights of people just to be free and to be left alone. So if anybody, I don't care if it's the FBI, the CIA, ATF, DEA, any federal force or state force comes in, it's the sheriff and the deputies of that county who are supposed to be protecting the people who elected them. That's how it's supposed to operate, constitutionally anyway. This guy is he's an oath breaking. All three of the law enforcers on the scene are oath breaking tyrants.
We talked about, man, you got to have insurance, you have to have driver's license operating on the highway.
As the sheriff is an elected official, he is the lawful authority of the state.
And that's fine.
Everybody else is a corporate
But either
official.
way, you still have to have driver's license operating on the public highway.
Says who?
The state.
No, the Supreme Court's already said this, sir. Yes, they have. That's how I won in court.
I got you.
Do you got me? Or you just
I understand what
I
understand what you're saying.
You have a duty to protect my rights.
I got you.
As a sheriff's deputy, and you're failing.
Well, I think he's already advised you're under arrest, so I can't do anything about that.
Oh, that's a freaking lie. He could have come on the scene and go, hey, sheriff says let him go. That's all he would have to say, and he would do it. Hey, Constitution. Hey, the Fourth Amendment says let him go. He has a right to be secure in his person's houses, papers, and effects. And you made him insecure by coming up with some stupid corporate traffic law. What are you guys saying? That the Constitution is undermined or stands under or is oppressed by the corporate traffic law? Is that what you guys are saying? Let this man go. He could have easily said that. This deputy is lying.
Stop in the car.
Just the fact that you're arguing this with a deputy you've already lost in court to is hilarious and says everything.
No, the plaintiff can't. Yeah, honey bunny, the plaintiff can't be the state, but we're talking about two different, complete worlds apart mentalities of the people who applaud and submit to the state, believing the state can be the plaintiff. So I'm talking about, it's so difficult. If you start talking the pure truth without adding the nuance of the lie, in other words, recognizing that, hey, this is happening while these people are believing this. Yeah, the state, there is the only thing that can be a plaintiff is a living being. In other words, the plaintiff is the injured party, or maybe the defendant is the injured party. But either way, there's an injured party, and the judgment between the two is, okay, which one is guilty of harming or stealing from or damaging the property of the other? So the state is a fiction. The state is that great fiction that where people live off the expense of everybody else under a great big lie. So I agree with you, Honey Bunny. The state cannot be the plaintiff, but in the minds of many, many, many millions of people, it can be. So that's the battle that we have. It's the battle of the mind. Yeah, I love that they wear brown shirts. I love that. It's so fitting.
Will you please make a phone call for me real quick?
Who you want me to call?
My daughter.
What's the number?
491.
What was your name?
So
Okay.
Hey,
Yes, sir.
is there any way we can wait on the tow truck and let me pay him to take that to my house?
No, sir. Hold on.
of course they could. They have officer discretion, but they're so evil they won't even let him have that.
Do that for him.
You have any marijuana on you?
No.
Is there any
Here we
marijuana
go.
in the vehicle?
Here we go.
Is there any marijuana in the vehicle?
I guys, there's no way I could describe to you the righteous indignation and the rage I feel when I see a man who has this power abusing his power on an innocent victim and is willing to set his sights on ruining this man's life and even costing him his life. Oh my God, this it literally makes me start to sweat.
All right.
Business must be booming at Turkey's towing with
Is Otto the watchdog here? Oh my gosh, Otto. Hey, dude, we got to do a live stream on your last video. That was impeccable, classic. It was beautiful. If you have not watched Otto the Watchdog, okay, I'm going to take a little segue because it's worth it. I saw that Lackluster had done something on it. I was going to do something, but I wanted to wait for a week so that he could get the maximum amount of views. Because as far as I'm concerned, Otto the Watchdog on his last video should get millions and millions of views. Otto the Watchdog. If you have not seen this video right here, I'm glad to see he's got 257,000 views in 2 days, but my gosh, this should be 2.5 million views in 2 days. I'm going to share this with you in the comment section. Hey, Otto, can you email me at contact@highimpactflix.com? If you forget that, it's in the description of every one of my videos. But if you would be interested in doing a live stream where we go over this video right here, where Otto's got 3 or 4 signs that he's putting out, and then he gets confronted by the police. This is in Texas, right, Otto? Texas, the red state of Texas. Let's rock and roll and be free, Texas. Oh my gosh, the way he handles these freaking tyrants is beautiful. It's classic. So that's the link right there. Yeah, if you don't know Otto the Watchdog, love the way he articulates, love the way he stood his ground. I love the courage that poured out of every pore of this guy's body. And I love the fact that he literally donned the spirit of the founding fathers, which is resistance and rebellion to state-funded, state-sanctioned tyranny. Love it. All right, so let's get back to, let's see. I've got so many tabs open. All right, let's get back to Van Balen. We're going to close this out.
amount of times they've had to tow his car at his request. I bet he has a loyalty card that gives him a special soft seat discount.
I'm not trying to be hard to get along with.
She didn't answer, bro.
You get a shoot her a text.
Yeah, I'll send it. Yeah. I'm not lying to you.
I don't know.
I ain't ever lied to you.
Maybe not knowing you.
I got you.
Wise decision by the daughter not answering the phone to her deadbeat soft seat dad. I don't think
Wise decision. Now Van Balen thinks he is so above this family that he's going to interject himself in between the relationship between a father and daughter, and applauding the daughter for not answering the phone because of her deadbeat sob-sit dad. This is how this guy's not even on the bottom of the barrel. He's under the barrel. This is scum of the earth, Van Balen. What are you doing, man?
I would answer the phone either. Anyway, now they do the obligatory inventory of the vehicle before towing. And one of my favourite parts of a soft seat traffic stop, when they do it, removing the fake private tag.
Guys, I'm not going to call Otto on right here because Otto's video deserves its own specialized treatment. It's got to be a standalone video because everybody's got to see it. Everybody's got to see it. And this video right here is already an hour and 14 minutes into it. I don't want to go over the hour and 30-minute mark. That's my goal. So now they're going to ransack this guy's car, looking for drugs. If your spirit and your attitude is, we got to get him on something, you're evil. You're evil.
Here you are.
Yeah, he absolutely would, Moto Medic. Taking the license plate, taking the man's private property away from him. This is theft, guys. Theft on video. But nobody sees it as theft because it's legalized theft. And legalized theft in the minds of a lot of people is righteousness. Thank you, Mike. I appreciate that. Yep, Guido's stealing for the mafia. So he steals the license plate. Let's see what happens here.
You made a wise decision. That's all I can tell you.
I mean, he was asking me for stuff I don't have again. I don't understand.
Yeah.
I mean, I do understand this is a police state and everybody's a slave to the police state.
No,
Ooh.
you ain't no slave, fella.
I'm not. Then what's going on here?
You don't have a driver's license, car.
Oh my gosh, that was substantial right there. Listen to what this guy just said. I'm going to back up 10 seconds.
Understand?
Yeah.
I mean, I do understand this is a police state and everybody's a slave to the police state.
No, you ain't no slave, fella.
I'm not. Then what's going on here?
You don't have a driver's license, car. Ain't got no insurance.
Who says I have to have that?
The state.
And who is the state to me?
Sir, if you're going to operate on a public highway in the state of South Carolina, you have to abide by the South Carolina laws.
Any law that's repugnant to the Constitution is null and void, sir.
Oh, this guy's hitting it out of the park, man. Holy cow.
Where in the Constitution does it say that you don't have to have a driver's license and abide by state law?
It falls under the liberty.
Do you hear the cop's question? Where in the Constitution of the United States does it say that you don't? Listen to what he says. Listen.
Void, sir.
Where in the Constitution does it say that you don't have to have a driver's license and abide by state law?
Where in the Constitution does it say you don't have to have a driver's license and abide by state law? No. It doesn't work like that. Where does it say you have to have it? Because there's a lot of things that it doesn't say. You can't attack it from the negative. It's like, prove to me you didn't steal that money. No. Wait a second. How can I prove a negative? You have to prove that I did it. You can't just make an accusation saying, okay, you need to prove to us that you didn't steal that money. Where does the Constitution say you don't have to have a driver's license? Do you think for 1 second that if the British government approached Benjamin Franklin or James Madison or Samuel Adams or George Washington for that matter, if the British government said, hey, you got to have a tag on the back of your horse-drawn carriage, you think for a second that they would submit to that? These are the framers of the Declaration of Independence, Thomas Jefferson, and the Constitution. They wouldn't be going for that. They'd be picking up their muskets.
Falls under the liberty clause.
Well, boy, it looks like you laid down enough words to validate the fact that we need to have us a little gunfight.
And the Supreme Court has ruled numerous times that we have a right to be on a public highway for non-commercial purposes. I'm not making any money.
I got you.
I came to do my laundry and pick up a few things from the store.
I got you.
For the good of my household. Furthermore, is your body cam on?
It is.
Okay, I just want to make sure, Parker. And and furthermore, in the South Carolina Code, I believe it's Title 36, which is the Uniform Commercial Code that governs all financial transactions. States in there, I forget what that part it is, but a household good doesn't have to be registered, or licensed, or titled, or anything. And that's my household good.
I got you.
I don't think you do because this keeps happening.
But what you get? Well, you got to understand, man, that you got to have a license to operate in the house.
This guy makes a whole lot of sense, but you know why it makes sense to us? Because we're operating on a plane of morality. Van Balion and people like him, people who approve of and agree with what Van Balion says, are operating on a plane of immorality. That immorality that would allow them to call for state-funded violence on somebody who didn't have tinted windows. But I would ask Van Balion this. And Van Balion, I really want to know the answer to this. And if you want to do a live stream, I will. We can talk about these things. I'm not your enemy, but you have made yourself my enemy. You want me to sit in a rape cage. You want me to be torture cuffed. You want me to be terrorized by the powers that shouldn't be. I don't want any of that for you. I want you to be left alone. I want you to live free and have a prosperous life and pursue life and happiness. But you want state-funded violence to come upon me and everybody who doesn't agree with you. What is up with that? How do you sleep with in your bed at night? How can you soothe your conscience when you're believing these things, when you're believing that it's okay for somebody else to initiate violence? And let me ask you this. If you approve of violence to come upon me at the hands of somebody else, would you, Van Balion, be willing to approach my car and point your gun at my head because I had windows that you consider too dark, or because you were following the rules of your politicians? Would you be willing yourself to put your hands on my body and force my hands behind me and put the torture cuffs on me and kidnap me and steal my car? Would you be willing to do that? I know you applaud others doing that, but would you be willing to do that? 9 times out of 10, the people who are pulling that lever and pushing that button to vote for a politician to make a law against you and create something that, banning bump stocks, which criminalize everybody who holds bump stocks, or create an assault weapons ban, whatever an assault weapon is, and everybody who holds or possesses that weapon that some other madman used to blow up, kill somebody in a post office or a school somewhere. Now you're all of a sudden criminalized. Okay, so you want the politicians to make the rule against me, making me a criminal, and you want law enforcement agents to march in to break into my house. But are you willing to break into my house at 2:00 in the morning? Are you? Because if you are, that says everything I need to know about you. Even if you aren't, but you want others to do it, that says everything I need to know about you. And this is an issue of character. And this is why we can't have freedom, because there's too many people who want slavery because they're not willing to live principled lives. Let's just close this out.
Oh, well, we went through that.
You need to understand that whoever you saying.
Thanks for becoming a member, Michael. I appreciate that.
Saying
If you're not a member, become a member. Or, if you want to support the channel like monetarily, you don't have to. The best way to support this channel is to like this video and share this video. I'm not done yet, but I just want to put this out there. If you want to support monetarily, grab a shirt if you want to get something back, or if you just want to, I've got this little icon in the corner here, the upper right-hand corner. It's the buy me a coffee. You can scan it, or however that works, whatever. But if you want to support this channel, if you like this content, then just like it and share it. If you want to support more, the links are in the description. Let's just finish this. It's only got like a minute left.
Don't override the Supreme Court of the United States.
Your legislators in the state of South Carolina say that. They're the ones that write the law.
What do you guys? What does that mean to you guys?
So,
is that just like
that's the highest court in the land, but I'm going to tell you that the Supreme Court didn't rule that you don't have to have a license.
They have. You can look it up.
I got you.
I can show you on that piece of paper.
Even if the Supreme Court ruled that, it wouldn't matter. If they ruled against it, it wouldn't matter. The Supreme Court makes rulings all the time that are patently unconstitutional, specifically regarding the First Amendment and the Second Amendment. There are so many gun laws in this country, when we have a supreme law of the land that says the unalienable right to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. There is no limitation and there's no qualification on that right. So if there's any law that in the slightest way interrupts your ability to get any kind of weapon you want, that is an infringement. And it's the simple words are shall not be infringed. So this ends it, but I want to end with this. Look, this cop putting his hands all over another man. This picture right here pretty much says it all, as Sergeant Beef-a-Lots right here is just looking on with the private tag. Also, what we have is a guy who wants to be free, and we have 2 order-following state-funded agents who are going to do what they're told regardless of what is right, instead of doing what is right regardless of what they're told. And this is what makes the world a cruddy place, because we have the Van Balions of the world applauding this state-sponsored, state-funded violence against peaceful people who haven't done anything wrong. And while we're on that, let me close this out with this little nugget of information right here. I asked, it's Grok, which is Elon Musk's AI. I queried and I said, what do you think the founding fathers would say? Because if you ask an AI a question, they try to stay along the lines of what is popular. They try to not give you anything illegal. And if they do, like, enter that area a little bit, there's a big disclaimer at the end. So I had to craft this question in kind of a crafty manner, if you will. I said, what do you think the founders would say based on what they've written if the British government demanded that they get a permission slip, i.e. a license from the government to take their property down the road? Very interesting what Grok says here. The founding fathers, look, can I expand this so you guys can see it better? Let's see. Can I? Oh yeah. Love it. Here, let me get me out of the way. This is so freaking interesting. Let me minimize that. Oops, what just happened? Let's see. Minimize it. Oh, there we go. The founding fathers, based on their writings, would likely have vehemently opposed a British government demand for a license to transport personal property. It's like, are you crazy? Of course they would. The core principles, liberty, property rights, and resistance to overreach shine through in their works. John Locke, whose ideas have heavily influenced the founders, wrote in his second treatise of government that property is a natural right derived from one's labor. See, that's what's happening in this video right here, is they're interfering with the day-to-day operations of a human being who wants to be left alone, and they're stealing his property and jeopardizing his livelihood. And government's role is to protect, not encumber it. A licensing requirement would be seen as an arbitrary restriction on this right. Thomas Jefferson in the Declaration of Independence listed grievances against the crown for, quote, imposing taxes on us without our consent and interfering with colonial self-governance. This is an interference right here, guys. This is an absolute interference in a person's right to his life, his liberty, his pursuit of happiness, and his property. He'd likely, this is Jefferson, would likely view a property transport license as another tyrannical overstep akin to the Stamp Act's burdensome regulations. And that's what a license is. It is a property transport license. And Van Balian and those like him are all for this. And what I'm saying is, hey, Van Balian, let us reason together. Let us sit down. Let's have a live stream and let's reason together. And let's figure out what right is, what wrong is, what crimes are, what illegality is, what the ramifications for illegality is. Is there any example in human history, specifically American history? I don't know if he's in Great Britain or wherever he is, somewhere in the EU, maybe, the way he talks. I don't know. He could be an American. I'm not sure. But is there any historical precedence where the federal government or state and local authorities made laws that they later rescinded because we find out that not only does it not eradicate crime, it creates a criminal class of people who aren't criminals. It increases the coffers of the prison industrial complex and actually gives rise to real crime, like Prohibition gave massive rise and power to the alcohol cartels, the mafia. But wait, there's more on this Grok thing. James Madison, the Federalist Papers number 10 and 51, emphasized checks on government power to prevent oppression of individual rights. He'd argue that requiring a permission slip for a basic act like moving property undermines the freedom the revolution sought to secure. Wow. Similarly, James Adams, in his 1772 Rights of the Colonists, asserted that individuals have a right to enjoy their property free from unjust governmental interference. And that's what this is. This is unjust, unwarranted, illegitimate government interference. I don't know how you could look at it under any other light or through any other lens. He'd likely call such a demand a pretext for control, rallying opposition with his fiery rhetoric. Yes, that's what traffic law is. It's a pretext or justification for further control. That's why I say all laws, including corporate traffic laws, serve two purposes. Number one, to steal money from you and fill the corporate coffers, the state-funded coffers. And number two, to transfer power, the power of your rights, the power of your right to travel into the hands of the law enforcers who just now took those rights away. Because if you're not free to get away from this traffic stop while they have the cherries and berries on behind you, without them pursuing you to the ends of the earth and bringing you to heel, tasing you, or bringing out the dogs or the helicopters, or, you know, putting a slug in your head, then you're not free. You can't consider yourself free when you have that constantly hanging over you. Benjamin Franklin, ever pragmatic, wrote in Poor Richard's Almanac about the dangers of small encroachments leading to greater losses of liberty. This is almost like the frog boiling in water. Start slow. At some point, the heat even feels good. It's therapeutic, but then you're boiling and you're dead. He'd see this license as a slippery slope toward broader state control over personal affairs. Even Alexander Hamilton, the statist that he was, more favorable to strong government, argued in the Federalist Papers number 84 that individual rights must be safeguarded against bureaucratic overreach. He'd likely criticize the license as an inefficient and unjust barrier to commerce and personal freedom. That's Alexander Hamilton, guys. And you know what a statist he was. So I'm at an hour and 31 minutes. I just wanted to go to an hour and 30 minutes, but I went a little bit over it. It will always be dangerous to be right when the government is always wrong. Truth is always to be believed, even if no one else believes it, because truth is still truth, even if no one believes it. But a lie is still a lie, even if everyone believes it. Even if everyone believes that you have to get permission from the government to travel down the road, that doesn't make it right. It doesn't make it true. And it doesn't make you righteous to interfere with a person who just wants to be left alone. If you like these videos, maybe you'll like some of my others, check them out. I really appreciate you guys joining me. I promised that I would go over every single super chat, and I will. Ask a Bum says, Ask a Bum. State-approved kidnappers. Yeah, we should really start calling them what they are. These road tyrants, these road pirates are kidnappers. If you, I know I'm sounding like a broken record here, but if you did the exact same thing and foisted the exact same actions on your fellow man that the law enforcement agents do on you, you would be rightly be viewed by all of society as the criminal you truly are. Because then you have committed a crime. If you've interrupted somebody's day who doesn't want their day interrupted, if you've interfered with them, if you've hindered them at all, and these cops do way more than that, you have jeopardized somebody's life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And that makes you evil. Officer Tater Hater said, hey, Brian, I'd be interested in doing a live chat on the Yankee Marshals channel. We'd love to have you on. Thanks, man. I appreciate it. I don't know. I don't know. I just... maybe just reach out to me, contact@highimpactflix.com, because I don't want to commit and then forget, you know. Kill 'em all says, right to offend, please cover the misconduct video. I'm not sure what you're talking about there. Back Shamil, what's up, man? Back Shamil from New York City. Brian, most useless eaters, aka masses, get angry and upset if you show them no respect. That's true. Yeah, people can't handle it. And you know, if you get angry, if you think you deserve respect from somebody and you get angry, it just like it's an outgrowth of inward insecurity is what I feel about it. Who cares? What claim does this person have over your life, over your soul, that you're going to get upset because they disrespect? Who cares? Do you really care that they disrespected you? Kill 'em all says, what you say is true. Cover video, right to offend. I don't know what video you're talking about, right to offend. Is there a link? Who does right to offend? Who's the author of right to offend? You're on fire. Thanks, man. I appreciate that. The Joker 6789. Michael Lyon says, the rant that nobody asked for is your best video, Brian. I really appreciate it, brother. Hey, thank you, man. And then he became a member. I appreciate it. Don't forget, guys, if you want become a member, it's only $2.99 a month. I put out at least one video every day 7 days a week, 369 days a year. 369. I love big women, says coffee time. Oh, did somebody send me a coffee? Let me see. I'll read out the coffees. It is really no measure of good mental health to be considered well adjusted to a profoundly sick society, by the way. And our society is definitely profoundly sick. I don't see. Oh, wait, I can't connect to my coffee. What's up with that? I can't connect to buy me a coffee on my phone for some reason. Here, let me see if I can try again. Ah, shoot. Yeah, it's wanting me to sign up through Twitter. I don't know. I've never done that. So if anybody bought a coffee, I'll definitely give you a shout out the next time I do a live stream if I remember it. Please remind me if I forget. Skeeby50, thanks a lot for the $5. I appreciate it. And then Michael Lyon says, dangerous freedom over peaceful slavery. Anarchy is the only morality. And let me just clarify that right there. Anarchy isn't blood in the streets. It's not mayhem. It's not chaos. It's not no rules. It's no rulers. Like, I don't want a controller. Do you want a controller? By the way, if you want a controller, then go ahead, get a controller for yourself, but don't ask a controller or beg a controller or vote for a controller to control me, because I don't want to be controlled. No rulers, no masters. That's what anarchy is. Okay, guys, I appreciate you. Don't forget to hit the like button before you leave tonight and share this video if you think it's share worthy. As for Van Balion, hey, man, I'm not your enemy. I'm actually your friend. I'm more your friend than you are my friend. I'll tell you that. And I want you to be free and live free. And I want you definitely to stop drinking the Kool-Aid in the cult of personality. Appreciate you guys. I'll see you in the next video.